So, one of the best pieces of advice that I received in my beginning years of teaching was to not try to do everything at once, to think of a couple goals as a teacher that you want to become more efficient in, and really try to focus on those for a couple weeks so that in your future lessons, it will become more naturally for you to weave those into your teaching. So, I use that logic in my curriculum. In the way that in my first domain, I focus on the first principle of the framework, which is creating a welcoming and affirming environment. And then in the second unit, nursery rhymes, I would focus on the second domain. So that really in the first couple months of teaching, you have gone through all of the strategies to incorporate that principle into your teaching so that it will become easier for the rest of the year to go back to those strategies and skills. So in my project, I did not write a lesson for every unit every day. I didn't think that was as important as researching what the best practices were and why they are best practices. But I did include a sample lesson. And if you want to read it, you can click on sample lesson and it'll pop up in a tab and it will show you in detail how I address incorporating that principle into my teaching. And so for the All About Me, things that you really want to be mindful is having the responsibility as a teacher to make sure that you're learning about your students' culture and the community in which you teach, developing those close relationships with your students and families, incorporating a social emotional program into your teaching, and probably my favorite is being mindful that you have materials that represent and affirm student identities. So I remember when I was in pre-K, in the dramatic play area at the dollhouse, there was a mom, a dad, a grandma, a grandpa, a boy and a girl, a cat and a dog, and they were all white. And looking back, I know that didn't address all the identities in my classroom, and even more concerning, that was showing me what a family was. And I think when teachers are not mindful and create those learning environments, it's dangerous for students to think that that's what the right way of doing something is, and then a couple years later going to their friend's house realizing that their family looks very different from that, and having negative feelings of something that's different, and or maybe not welcoming it as much. So again, that's why I think pre-K teachers have a lot of responsibility of beginning learning opportunities that needs to constantly be addressed and reminded. So in my lesson plan for this unit, I used a read aloud. I like myself. I talked about how I would have a whole group read aloud lesson where I have rich questions ready to have good conversations and dialogue happening, opportunities for turn and talk. I'm modeling what good readers do, what they're wondering, things like that, so that when they do break out into centers and small groups, they have something to take with them to explore and experiment with each other in play and social scenarios. So that would be how I would set up most of my lessons for this curriculum, having some guided time and then letting students explore through play.